Our next email comes from Michael Baker.
Michael Baker.
You know, last week we celebrated GameScoop 300.
We did.
It was awesome.
That was really fun. So he says, you know, last week you talked about the big things that happened in the last 8 years of gaming. What would you like to see happen in the next 8 years in gaming?
8 years?
Yeah.
Why did you choose that?
Because GameScoop's been running for 8 years.
Oh.
So what
Man, it's been 8 years?
Yeah.
What are we going to be
You guys
talking
should have
about?
an anniversary episode.
What are we going to talk about on GameScoop 600, in other words?
And what was
Yeah.
the biggest change?
On the moon.
On GameScoop 600.
We'd like to announce now that GameScoop 600 will take place on the moon.
Doing 0G here.
Yeah, exactly.
Or low G.
I got it.
Yeah. I saw a graph of how much you'd weigh on different planets. On the moon, I would weigh 28 pounds.
Oh, damn, dude.
Yeah.
Svelte.
We could just be throwing you around right now.
Yeah, just woo. Like those beach balls at concerts, you just be like throwing me around. Anyway, Greg, let's start with you. What do you hope comes to pass to video games over the next
Gender equality.
years?
We're right there. It sucks that gamer girls are still gamer girls, and it has to. It's like one of there's all these social causes we fight on our daily basis as human beings, and then our own microcosm of the video game culture. The fact that a girl, one of our female reporters, writes a review, and then they're destroyed in the comments or whatever. How do they know anything? They're just a girl. They don't know anything about games.
The gaming Taliban, I believe Cliffy B calls
yeah.
Is that what he calls them? That's a good one.
That's a
actually.
The same
That's a
people
good
that
label.
are commenting on this article right now.
No, we have good fans. The good
No,
people
not
too.
those people.
Okay,
Below the
Right
the commenter that I've featured at the top of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that's well documented, right? The
Yeah,
fact
so you're
of,
talking about gamers, not like game characters.
I'm talking about the gaming culture,
Okay.
to where it isn't that here's the guy in his giant mech suit, and here's the girl with half of her body exposed and her tits hanging out. Like,
What
you know
about
what I mean?
booth babes, the whole deal, like at E3 at a show like E3?
Well, I've seen enough hot dudes there too. I'd rather
Sure.
see that quotient come up as
Right,
well.
okay.
If you're gonna have, you're selling your beach game, you got the hot dude, you got the hot girl. That's fine.
So I'm with you
Yeah.
on this. For the sake of discussion or having to make GameScoop a talk show, you bring up gamer girls
We are
as an
contractually
example.
obligated.
I
put it in quotes.
think a lot of gamer girls choose to put themselves out there as gamer girls. That's like the
That's
persona.
true. I do see a lot of female Twitter handles, and they'll say, "I'm a girl gamer."
Yeah, sure.
And that's fine if you want to own it and that's your identity. Sure,
Okay.
I'm not talking about the term gamer girl. I'm talking
Yeah, but
about
that whole
fake
movement
girl,
of, like-
fake nerd, fake. You don't know what you're talking about. Blah blah.
Sure. Like, I do think, let's not, it's awful, the things that people said about Keza, and other people
Right.
that used to work at IGN, and it's stupid. But there are a lot of women that are like, I'm a girl gamer, and you gotta respect that. And they're really, that's this persona that they've crafted for themselves in a way that men don't feel like they need to or choose not to.
Well, yeah, but men don't need to. And if I'm understanding your argument right, men don't need to call the attention. I'm a true gamer, blah blah blah, because nobody would ever question that. Nobody gives a shit if you're a dude and you're just like, I'm a dude gamer. Like, no,
I'm a
it's
man
fine. You know
gamer,
what I mean?
deal
But a
with it.
girl's like, I love games. And they're like, prove it. What do you know about games? Yada yada yada.
That stuff all sucks.
I just don't see a lot of that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Oh man, it's all over the place.
I know it happens. I just don't see it a lot.
I would say
mean-
it's a very sexist, immature.
I don't see it a lot among
Community.
like IGN commenters.
Oh man,
Really?
Yeah.
It's just the whole Anita Sarkeesian thing.
Yeah.
do that.
Sure,
I
yeah.
know about that.
It's freaking
That I
brutal.
get. That I
Yeah.
get.
That's the worst case scenario for that stuff. But we have a problem with just not having any female or different protagonists than white male protagonists in games, and
Right.
it's getting boring.
Yeah,
you
a lot of
see-
video games are like male power fantasies for sure.
Yeah, and it's just and then it's just it's the same. It's the same background and story for characters. Yes, everybody should be able to tell their own story, but I don't know. I always like it when there's some kind of choice or some kind of strange character background that you explore in a game. That I want to play those characters. I want to play a white guy that has a cool job. That's me.
Yeah, a space marine with a shaved head was like every game when last gen launched.
Yeah.
Even late into it, but yeah.
Sure.
I mean, that's the thing, and that's why, the examples of, FemShep or whatever stand out so well, or even Gone Home Story, right? The reason those things get talked about over and over again are the fact that these are different experiences, and that's what, personally, I want out of games. I'm with you, right? That I want to be put into somebody's shoes that isn't just well, he's vanilla so that you can fill in your gaps. I'm like, no, tell me
I
their
don't like
story.
that.
Yeah. It's
I
like
want to
reading a
role
book.
play in something where it's whoa, that's a strange life experience that I would never think about or have.
Right. And I want to see that, and I want to see characters treated with that kind of respect, like FemShep would be, versus some character that's clearly just there for TNA.
You played as FemShep?
100%.
You did too, Damon?
Of course.
I did.
It's a video game where you can play as a woman.
Do you always choose ladies?
Yeah.
I do too.
Always.
I like that. I prefer if I'm going to look at a person for a really long time and
That's exactly how I think about it. Yeah.
I play as ladies in every MMO.
the men are just so stupid looking always. It's just
That's
the worst.
That's the reason I
designs.
do it. Is actually in an MMO, like they just look. All the men look terrible, in my opinion.
Sure.
And if you can design them, I just don't really care that much at that point. I usually use default character designs now too.
Is it because you don't?
What's
like,
happening to me?
Is it because you
getting
don't
old.
like the mustache options on the male characters?
They don't have them.
Yeah, I mean, is that the deal breaker for you though?
Yeah.
Sure.
When I take a picture of myself with the 3DS to make a me out of myself, it like puts a mouth like on my forehead. It says no mustache
It has
software.
no idea who you are.
Yeah, it just doesn't have mustache software. No mustache.
That's what
ID.
next gen will truly bring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
8 years from now.
Mustache.
That's what you want to pick? You hope in video games are
Spoilers.
more mustaches?
Yeah.
Greg, I think gaming gender equality is very admirable to hope for over the next 8 years.
I think we're getting there,
I was
right?
gonna say we're getting better, though.
The
Yeah.
fact that we
We're getting
talk
better.
about it, the fact that there can be female characters that are strong, there can be gay characters, like, is one of those things. There's people who get up in arms about it and crazy and want to be insulting about it. But then, as video games have matured with us and we've matured as gamers, I think you see that start to fade away, right?
So there's a few. Do you think Tomb Raider is a good example or a bad example?
I thought it was a good example.
Sure.
I didn't. I think early on it got caught up in a whole swirl of. And
So,
then
I mean, you're going to want to protect her.
and she's going to get raped, and people were like, "Ooh," and like that's when people freaked out. But playing it, I thought that she was a strong female character, right?
for sure.
Like I thought she was realistic looking. Granted, beautiful, but that's every person in every movie, unless you're Jonah Hill or Seth Rogen.
Yeah. Sorry, dudes.
Zinger.
Hey, they're on Team Fat with me. We're allowed to talk about each other.
We've talked. You're no longer part of.
I'm very Team Fat.
We've already. Team Fat is not a number on a scale. It's a frame of mind.
Right.
So are you on Team Fed?
Yeah, 100% I'm on Team Fat.
I am too.
I don't. Anyway, Justin.
Get out of here, 29 pounds on the moon.
28. Don't try to add pounds to my moon.
My moon weight would probably be like way more than 28 pounds.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
What do you want? 8 years?
what do you hope happens to video games for the next 8 years?
I really like this modern trend in single-player games that use the internet and use social features to still help you feel connected to other people. GTA did it with its stock market, so there is multiplayer in that game, but the campaign is all single-player. You're playing on your own, but the things that other players do can still impact your game world. Assassin's Creed 4 is another awesome example of this when it worked, there were these super rare white whales that you would need to get. And if you spotted a white whale, it would put a pin on the people on your PlayStation friends list. If they were one of your friends, it would put a pin on their map that lasted for a certain amount of time, a day or two. And then they could hunt down that white whale.
So passive multiplayer effects.
Yeah, like these
Well, you do like
passive-
Journey and Dark Souls type stuff.
Yeah, Journey is another decent example of that's a little bit more traditional, multiplayer, genuine multiplayer. Dark Souls is another great example of now that these consoles are always connected. I'm not saying I want like other players invading my game world all the time, but just take advantage of those games being online and pinging the internet and let you do cool stuff with your friends list. When I was the mobile guy at IGN, I liked Infinity Blade a lot. And they had these challenges where there'd be a boss that would have millions of hit points, and then every player would go in and like whittle it down a little bit. And then thousands of players together would collectively like be able to take down this boss.
Gotcha.
And you're not playing with other people, but you're all like interacting in sort of a neat, cool way.
No, I hear you.
I'd like to see a mechanic like that taken over to something like Borderlands, where like, once 500,000 people are able to do this thing, it opens up a new area of the map, and then you're all working together, for example. And even if you're playing on your own, you're still sort of sharing in like this social experience.
That's one of the things with the new Diablo on PS4, right? The fact that if you and I are friends and this monster kills me, it can then jump to your game. It'll level up, jump to your game, and you'll have the chance to kill it, get extra loot. It'll tell you that you avenged me, and if it kills you, it jumps to someone on it levels up again and goes out.
That's really cool.
And I do think like that's the rumors that we're hearing about Assassin's Creed, and that is the feature that's in Watch Dogs. And I haven't played Watch Dogs yet, so I don't know if I'm going to like it or dislike it. But the fact that people can, be messing with your game world in their game world, I think stuff like that's super rad and awesome. And I think there's a lot of interesting game design space to explore there. Just if you know that 100% of the people that play your game are going to be connected to the internet, like do neat stuff with that, even if it's just a single player game, even if it's something as simple as putting a dot on a map.
So I agree with you, but why do you think that appeals to you more than just a multiplayer game where everyone's in the city with you?
Well, I mean, sometimes I just don't want or don't like traditional multiplayer. Like, I liked playing Assassin's Creed 4 on my own, but I like still getting to interact, in a few light ways with my friends. I just like that feeling. I like collaborating and cooperating with people, even if it's not like straight up co-op where I need to grab one of you guys and force you to play at the same time as me.
Sure.
And I also think it's just neat because it's kind of new. Like, it's just not a lot of games are doing
Yeah,
that.
they're kind
like,
of just starting to do that sort of thing.
Like, I like the video games that I like most are the ones that show me something I've never seen or done before. And I feel like that's a space where, like, a Watch Dogs-ish type multiplayer experience can be. There's a lot farther we can iterate on that, and a lot farther game designers can go, in my opinion.
Nice. Cool. Samuel.
We were talking about this earlier a little bit, Damon. I really, really like to see tools improved for anybody to be able to make video games. That's awesome. And I think the important thing about making records or making movies is that anybody can do it, and that greatly improved records and movies when that happened. You know, indie films changed the way, you know, you don't have to put money behind a film. You make a much cooler, more interesting film that influences a bunch of other people. Same thing with music. I hate top 40 music. I love little tiny bands putting out records still. It's like my favorite thing. Anybody can do it. Anybody can sit down and put out a 45. It's like the easiest thing to do. And I love DIY culture, and I think right now DIY game development is really cool, except it takes coding, and I think coding needs to come out of gaming. And I think the people that are coding games are going to be good at coding, and they might also be really good at making games, but usually you need one of both people, and that's not good enough. People need to be able to make games on their own, and I encourage everybody to learn how to code and make a game,
That's what I'm saying.
it's really, really difficult.
There's a big push these days for everyone to learn to code. Stuff like Code Academy, right?
For sure.
It's highly encouraged. It's considered a very valuable skill to have today.
Yeah. So my futuristic solution to this comes from AI and being able to describe to a computer exactly the behaviors and outcomes you want from things.
Sure.
So you say, I want to start with a game like Super Mario Brothers and change it. I think that's where the tool sets are going to be, maybe in 8 years, but probably after that. But who knows? Things move really fast. What's Siri going to be like in 8 years?
Yeah.
You know, like it could be good enough to start making games.
I mean, it'll probably be. I think it being, you know, Siri-esque is a sci-fi pipe dream, but I think if it'll be the equivalent of being really good at like Excel, you know, or like something like that. Like, you don't specifically need to know how to code, but if you learn this set of tools and learn how to use RPG Maker, like, you're not actually writing lines of code, but you can do awesome stuff in it. To the Moon was made in RPG Maker, one of the, you know, sort of game maker programs, and that's an award-winning game just on the strength of its that's writing. So
When I play NES Remix, I want to make those NES Remix mini games, and I feel like that tool set. Actually, WarioWare DIY had stuff kind of like that.
Make your own mini
but
games.
it's still it doesn't. Everything has assets, and everything has things that people have already created, and I need to be able to go from scratch because that's what art is. You know, and the people that get to do that know how to code, I'm jealous of them. It's like the people that you knew growing up that are really good at illustrating. Like, I can draw a little bit, but when people can like actually illustrate, it's an amazing innate talent.
So you mean like a next level Little Big Planet kind of?
But then anybody can make a painting or draw a painting, so you don't need to be a great illustrator, so you don't need to be a great coder.
Yeah.
You just need to have the ideas, right? And I want people to be able to do that.
That's actually a great point. This is a really good. I'm glad you brought it up because it's not something I'd ever really thought about before. But like, anybody can step in front of a camera and it'll be terrible, it'll be awful. But you can step in front of a camera and speak, you know, and make a little film or, you know, beat a drum and make music.
It might not be terrible. It might be great.
Well, it might be great, but I'm just saying, like, if you don't have any experience with it, that's not necessarily stopping you from at least trying. But it does stop you from being a game. Like, if you don't have that experience, there's like kind of literally nowhere you can start. There's these apps you can download. There is stuff like
But it's like saying, like,
what are they
you want to
called?
make movies? Well, go to school for it. Like, nobody, that's completely ridiculous.
That's
Or
not-
if you're making a record.
I mean, I do want to say,
Yeah,
like, there
making
is RPG Maker. There are programs you can download and buy
Yeah,
that
for
don't
sure.
require code, that even come with free tile sets and stuff like that. Like, you can make a role-playing game now without needing to know how to code, or a tower defense game. But we're not. I think, yeah, I'm with you. I'd be super excited to see those tools in another 8 years become more like, you know, Microsoft Word and less like some crazy intimidating thing.
Do you guys remember that game Fighter Maker? It was for PS1.
I remember that game.
It'll let you make your
Your
own,
stupid
like,
fighting
design
games.
your own fighters. It's one-on-one fighting game like Street Fighter, and then you could create all their moves and the animation and everything. So my friends and I, we like got this game. We were really excited because we loved Rival Schools. So we were like, okay, we're gonna make our own fighter, we're gonna make our own characters and design their moves. But then we found out that, like, to save just one character, it took up like an entire memory card for PS1.
Wow.
So it was like basically useless.
There was a game where you could put in your music CDs and they would
It was
make...
Monster Rancher.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But NES Remix really got me thinking about that because each bite-sized game in that is something where Nintendo just messed with a ROM.
Yeah.
You know, like, I want to do that. You know, and that's the guy that made the game. We interviewed him. I forget his name right now. But he said he was just doing that at his desk between other functions. And I was like,
really
I want
cool.
to do that at my desk. You know?
Right. That sounds awesome. My pick for what I hope happens to video games over the next 8 years is actually similar to what our friend Michael Baker chose on his email.
Baker.
He says, I would like to see game systems adapt a universal game media. Sony and Microsoft can make their own consoles, but one universal disc that will work in all of them.
The UMD, some would call it.
Yeah, Universal Media Disc.
The one console future has been a dream, long been the dream.
That's my pick.
You would rather have a Blu-ray
That's
type media, but only for games.
I hope Steambox actually catches on. So we just have video games are unique in media, like that you need this proprietary console to play this. Like any Blu-ray player will play any Blu-ray. Any music device will play any of your MP3s, will stream any service. Like, why do you need this specific console to play these specific games? It seems kind of old and outdated to me.
Do you want that more than awesome VR? Nobody chose that. I just wanted to throw that
No,
out.
you did talk about that, yeah. I do want that more than awesome VR. Although
Okay.
VR sounds really exciting
Yeah.
too. I think that would be good for developers and for gamers. Like, think how awesome Steam is. You know, like Steam,
Yeah.
everybody has a PC or a Mac. Everybody can play games on Steam. Everybody. But only people that have, a PlayStation 4 can play Infamous Second Son. Think about talented developers like Naughty Dog. Their games are very successful, but they're still limited to only people that own a PlayStation device. You know, if they made a game for a Steam box, like anybody in the world could play this game now.
But anybody could steal it, and anybody. I mean, there'd be one marketplace, presumably. I mean, the problem with this is
not
coming back to
necessarily.
the shovelware thing. It's like, how do you cut through the crap and find out that Infamous is worth playing?
Except these
IGN.
open platforms haven't ruined music or movies. It's fine.
I think they have.
You think so?
Sure.
Like,
you were just talking about
Sure, why not? I don't care.
you love 45s, right?
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't like
any
iTunes.
record player will play 45s.
Yeah.
No, I agree with the idea. I just
It'd be
don't
like-
want. I don't
it'd be like
want
a
it to
music
all be
label.
on Steam.
It'd be like, well, it doesn't have to be Steam. It could be anything. Like,
No, but I
it'd be
don't,
like a
I
music
don't want
label.
Nintendo games to even be on Steam because I want there to be somebody that says like, this is really only worth playing if you did this and this and this and made it this high of quality.
So this is
Well, wouldn't
For
that
some
be
systems.
Nintendo, though? I mean,
then
Nintendo would
people
only
can
be
do whatever they
publishing
want.
good stuff like that.
I'm just happy that people are like driven to make blockbuster games still because I do like those a lot. And I think that
too.
might undercut that.
I don't know.
I agree with you. I mean, I think one console would be. It's one of
It
the
would just
things.
be beneficial for gamers and developers.
It's one of the things that holds video games back in some ways. You do run into kind of a problem, using Nintendo as an example, they match their software and their hardware up so closely, with things like, I don't know, like a lot of the DS touch games was sort of the start of that. And, or like the reason that the GameCube had a Z button, you can go all the way back to that, or the Wii remote. So you lose some of that if you're stuck with sort of standardized hardware. You also lose. You'd have to be super careful of like that sense of competition. You don't really want one marketplace. You want people competing with each other.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But Blu-ray manufacturers do compete with each other. So it doesn't eliminate competition.
And it's not really them; it's the studios, right? So
Yeah.
if studios are still competing, I can see that working out.
Sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it'd definitely be convenient.
Greg, you haven't weighed in on my.
I also
idea.
like boxes and manuals, though. So
I'm fine with it how it's spread out right now.
It's because
fine, but I can't-
you're a PlayStation fan. You're happy playing PlayStation games.
All I've been playing is Nintendo lately.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, sorry.